you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much as well, Colonel Wormack. Thank you to today's witnesses for their testimony. I do want to start by stating I want to agree with an earlier comment made by my colleague, Mr. Stewart, stating in reference to our friends on the left that they feel the only way of increasing revenues is by increasing taxes. That's equivalent to stating that the only way a business increases revenues is by raising prices. Contrary, the best companies in the world increase their revenues by lowering prices and expanding their customer base, just as we should be doing is lower taxes, create a higher level of employment and economic productivity. We create more taxpayers as opposed to more taxes. Our revenues are projected, the United States federal government's revenues for next year are projected to grow in 2019 by 5.6%. That is a very healthy growth rate for revenues. Our problem is not in the revenues, our problem is in our spending, which exceeds that by quite a bit. Mr. Gray, as you likely know, between 2014 and 2018, discretionary spending by the federal government is spiked by 20%. Would it be fair to say and to assume that future increases in mandatory spending, including interest on our debt, of course, will threaten our ability to invest in important discretionary programs such as defense, research conducted by the National Institute of Health, education grants, disaster relief, homeland security, et cetera?
Yes.
Can you offer any recommendations as to the discretionary programs that you think Congress should analyze and determine if a funding reduction is appropriate?
So I believe that this committee, the Appropriations Committee, is well suited to provide oversight over individual programs. Though your earlier point about the budgetary pressures driven by the growth in mandatory and interest payments is a real one and will constrain choices, and so that oversight is all the more important.
Okay. So you're not prepared to offer any
on specific discretionary spending programs? I believe they should all be accountable to the Congress and to the taxpayer.
Okay, very good. I served as Revenue Secretary in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Then we did we analyzed through the Department of Human Services, to assure that all people receiving government benefits were in fact eligible to receive those benefits. In the course of this review, we did save hundreds of millions of dollars on a near $600 million on a $25 billion or so budget. Do you think that a similar review of our federal government such expenditures would net a cost savings as well, and would it be worthwhile to conduct? And seeing our federal government is a lot more zeros than a state government, would it be in the tens of billions of dollars should we engage in such an effort?
I believe there are estimates of improper payments across federal programs that run into that order of magnitude. I don't know that it's necessarily practical to assume that we could sort of fix all of those and just capture those savings. However, it is clear that there's certainly areas to improve eligibility and scrutiny over the disposition of federal payments.
Okay, well, thank you. Is there anything else that you could add that might guide us this year from a discretionary spending standpoint?
Certainly. So I am broadly sympathetic and to the points raised by my colleagues that there are national priorities in the defense, in particular, in my view, and in the non-defense discretionary area. In my ideal sort of budget, I've worked on this elsewhere, you can fund those priorities while, as I noted earlier, also taking on the important work of the fiscal consolidation that is eventually going to happen. It's really just about when we decide to do it. And so I think you can fund those priorities while also pursuing, I think, a fiscally responsible budget plan.
I agree. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back the remaining